正解。
Rebirth of the Malicious Empress of Military Lineage. Chapter 109. Leaving One Strayed. Rebirth of the Malicious Empress of Military Lineage. Chapter 110. Subduing Pei Lang. There are thousands of people in the world and tens of thousands of businesses. Everyone have a way of living. As for me, one do not find that a female from a brothel is cheaper than others, but the world view it as such. Shin Miao said, like my guardmo, he is a servant but no one will look down on him. My personal servants even have people who would envy them. The matter of the world is such, and people are separated by 3, 6 and 9 ranks, who do not want to be a person on top of others, and who is willing to be trampled every day by others. Liu Ying most hated others bringing up the matter of her being debased to prostitution and would always become angry. Shin Miao said, you may wish to consider it. Since young lady look down on people who are reduced to dust, then why the need to say these words to me? Liu Ying retorted with a laugh. What I look down is people who are willing to be reduced to dust. Shin Miao stood up and said, after a few days, Guardmo will come again, so young lady Liu Ying do not need to be in a hurry to answer me. But usually there would not be a good ending for those who treat others according to appearances. Shin Miao gave a look to Mo King and he quickly took out a piece of tail and placed it on the table. Liu Ying swept her eyes at him with some anger on her face. Mo King was very embarrassed and Shin Miao did not plan on staying any longer, so she nodded her head to Liu Ying and left. One did not know what kind of expression did Liu Ying had on when Shen Miao left. Only when they were out of Bao Xianglu's doors, Jing said indignant, young lad, young master has good intentions to redeem her, but she did not appreciate it. Good intentions do not meet with recompense. Mo King wanted to say something but at the end endured it. Guyu asked, young lady, are we going back now? Shen Miao did not reply and did not move her body at all. Guyu felt somewhat strange, and seeing that Shen Miao was seemingly looking at something, she followed her gaze and saw that across the street corner there stood a green-clad person, who was looking at the little building of Bao Xianglu. Before Guyu had time to speak, one saw Shen Miao lifting her feet to walk over. Under the eaves, a green-cladded male was standing straight and closely staring toward the direction of Liu Ying's building. He was so entranced that he did not know that people walked to his side. Only when a cough interrupted his thoughts, then he saw 4 people standing in front of him. The one leading was a youth clad in moon-white robes with clear and delicate brows and looking like a carved jade. He was unsure which family's young gentleman did he belong to. At that moment when he was looking, there was a faint smile on his lips. Pei Lang was stunned and just thought that this youth was seemingly familiar. The youth nodded towards him. Teacher Pei. Shin Miao. Pei Lang stared back with large eyes. He looked at the attendants and guards behind Shen Miao before looking back at her. Most likely he was somewhat shocked. You, why are you dressed like this? It was no less common for a female to dress as male in Mingqi as for conveniences. Many young ladies would occasionally don male clothes, and sometimes it was done pretty good. But Shen Miao. Pei Lang looked at the jade-like youth and did not know what to say in that moment. I just came out from Bao Xianglu, Shen Miao said. All of a sudden Pei Lang started coughing till his face was somewhat red. It was already unusual for a female to dress up as male, but it was his first time hearing of a female dressing up as a male to visit a brothel. But Shen Miao still had a magnanimous look on, without a trace of embarrassment. Shen Miao suddenly stood forward and approached Pei Lang. With a paw sound that sounded from opening a fan that blocked both their faces, a soft voice sounded at one side of the folding fan. Everyone says that Bao Xianglu's ladies are stunning beauties in the human world, so I specifically went to visit. Recently there are a number of new Persian dancers that are matchless in beauty. From the outside Pei Lang looked calm. He was highly competent in the face of dignitaries and officials, but when facing with Shen Miao's slightly ambiguous actions, he was somewhat overwhelmed. Not to mention the nonsense stuff that Shen Miao said that let him have a wrong illusion, as if the person in front was really a gentleman who visits brothels on horseback, and was discussing about which brothel has better dancers. Nonsense. Thinking of his identity as a teacher, that word bursted out from between Pei Lang's teeth. Shen Miao smiled gently and her eyes became curved like crescent moons, almost like one who was laughing. But I picked Liu Ying's place card. When the words were spoken, Pei Lang's body stiffened. Shen Miao kept the folding fan and smiled towards him. I see that Teacher Pei had been here looking at Liu Ying's little building for quite long. Is it that one is filled with longing for young lady Liu Ying? Pei Lang stared at Shen Miao and his usual bland expression suddenly became fierce. Shen Miao was however unmoved and still laughing as she pointed to Guai Huolu. Since Teacher Pei is also interested in young lady Liu Ying, it will be better to come in with me for a drink and discussion about the beauty. She clearly behaved frivolously, but there was a kind of irresistible majesty to it. She crossed the fan in front of her chest and walked up herself before throwing a sentence. Fine wine and discussion about beauties, it is the finest thing in life. Even though the three of them, Jings, Guyu and Mo King, did not understand the meaning of Shen Miao's words, they had never refuted any decision of Shen Miao, so they immediately followed her. Pei Lang stood on the spot alone and paused for a moment before making the decision to follow. Upstairs at the position against the window, Ji Yushu jumped up quickly. Look, I had said that Shen young lady is interested in that Pei Land, and she went around in a big way to pick Liu Ying, just to speak to Pei Lang today. Zhao Yang could not be bothered about him and speculated. Just now she used the fan to cover her face. What exactly did she say to Pei Lang? Zhao Yang shook his head. To use the fan to block. Can it be that she know that you know how to read lips? When saying these words, Zhao Yang was looking at Zi Jingxing. Zi Jingxing shrugged his shoulders, indicating a decline to comment. Speaking of which, just now how Shen young lady made that action with the fan was just like a Casanova. It was even better than me. Ji Yushu lament, how such a beautiful person fall for such a poor scholar. Even if one were to follow this lord, it is better than following a pretty boy that cannot afford to visit a brothel. Zi Jingxing stood up and Ji Yushu asked, where are you going? Of course to listen. What are they talking about? Zi Jingxing smiled meaningfully. I'd like to see exactly what kind of chess piece Pei Lang is. In the elegant room of Guai Huolu, Mo King was guarding by the door as Jings and Guyu stood at the sides with their heads down, as if they were not there. At the table, Shen Miao was pouring wine. This was Lu wine, amber in color and had a light fragrance to it. This wine was not intoxicating, and as long as one's alcohol capacity was not lousy, drinking a little more would not cause anything. Shen Miao poured 2 cups. Her pouring actions were extremely beautiful, with one hand holding the flagon handle as the wine flow into the delicate crystal wine cup, that even the sound was pleasing to the ears. Pei Lang watched as Shen Miao pushed a cup of wine to him and smiled. Teacher, please have it. Shen Miao. Pei Lang directly called out her name. His expression from when he came until now was not relaxed as he continued. What exactly do you want? Teacher Pei is unexpectedly anxious. Is not as like a cow chewing peony if one discuss about a beauty without wine? Shen Miao looked at him calmly and unruffled in the midst of chaos. Pei Lang felt blocked up with her words. He had been in Guangwentang for several years and the people he had encountered all respected him. Even the most unruly student would not use such a frivolous tone when speaking to him. If it was someone else one could let it be, but unfortunately it was Shen Miao. Pei Lang had always felt that Shen Miao was not a frivolous person, so he was unable to tell how things stood when she spoke like this. Seeing that Pei Lang did not speak, Shen Miao lightly laughed. She said, only joked with Teacher Pei. Why is Teacher Pei this nervous? When she spoke those words, her eyes were clear but her gaze seemed to be teasing. It was clearly an innocent young girl appearance, but in that moment there was actually a kind of unconscious seduction that made Pei Lang's gaze pause. This is Lu wine. Shen Miao picked the wine cup up and raised it towards Pei Lang, and the color on Pei Lang's face changed. Shen Miao seemed to have not noticed his expression and slowly said, in the land of Qilu, The wine is also brewed amber in color. The wine in Guaihualu most likely was shipped over from Chilu. Pei Lang looked at her and suddenly picked up the wine cup from the table and drained it of its content. This wine is not intoxicating. Shin Miao spoke with a quiet smile. Otherwise, if others see this, they would think that Teacher Pei is an alcoholic. Her words were delicate, but the words said made Pei Lang's hands tremble slightly. She said, "Speaking of which, Lu State people are good at drinking and would use jugs to drink most of the time." Gentleman Pei just now seemed to be like a Lu person. Pei Lang pursed his lips and did not speak, but his warm brows slightly twisted up. One of Shen Miao's hand was on her cheek as alcohol slowly creeped to her face. Even if one did not fear of being intoxicated, there would still be a light redness on one's face. When the eyes slightly squinted, it was as if a begonia was asleep, but because of being clad in a male garb, it was refreshing and a different kind of amorous feeling. She said, "I remembered tens of years ago, there was a prefectural magistrate in Lu State that seemed to also have the surname Pei. If one did not know about it, one would think that Teacher Pei belonged to the same family as that person." All of a sudden Pei Lang put the wine cup down on the table. At the same time Mo King glared like a tiger and his right hand was on the sword around his waist. Unfortunately, that prefectural magistrate Pei's residence was involved in an old matter and His Majesty beheaded the entire family. In the entire residence, all sons were executed and daughters became prostitutes. Shin Miao seemed to be unable to suppress a smile. One heard that prefectural magistrate Pei had a pair of outstanding children, a girl and a boy who were still young but died in that storm. Pei Lang's lips were slightly trembling as he asked a word at a time, "Who are you exactly?" Shen Miao made a sighing sound and served herself another cup of wine, as two round blushes appeared on her fair face. "Actually, I was fortunate to hear another secret. Seeing that Teacher Pei also has the surname Pei, one will share it with Teacher Pei." That prefectural magistrate Pei's residence had the ability to send the pair of children away from the scourge, but unfortunately due to the intense chase by the officials, only one can be protected. So, the prefectural magistrate Pei's residence shielded the son, but the daughter was caught by the officials. She shook her head regretfully. Those officials were like wolves and tigers and would not have any mercy to the criminal family members. How would there be a good ending for the little girl that was caught? Shin Miao lamented, "I say that prefectural magistrate Pei's residence obviously knew that it would be best dead than alive for the daughter, than to fall into the tiger's mouth, but still pushed the daughter in. It was indeed somewhat ruthless." Pei Lang closed his eyes as a pained expression appeared on his face. Teacher Pei is so nostalgic. One think that one is filled with empathy. Shin Miao smiled cheekily as she looked at him, but one think that this has nothing to do with Teacher Pei, because Teacher Pei is not a Lu person, as Teacher Pei was born in a merchant household in the Ding capital. One only spoke about this because this wine is intoxicating and had a moment of emotions. Pei Lang's gentle expression was no longer there, and what replaced it was a strong vigilance and offense as he said, "Is this General Shen's intention?" Shin Miao shook her head. "My father loves me and gave me an embroidery workshop, but is short of an embroidery manager. And what a coincidence, this young lady Liu Ying of Bao Xiang Lu also know double-sided embroidery, so I thought that since both were reduced to prostitution and both knew double-sided embroidery, it might be that young lady Liu Ying and that criminal official's daughter have a few points of commonality, so I sympathize and wanted to save her." Shin Miao looked at Pei Lang and said, "Teacher Pei, do you think this student is correct in doing it?" She called herself as student with her head full of black hair, that was tied up in a male manner in an official hat, looking over with all smiles, seemingly having some air of a jaded youth. But in that clear pair of eyes, the bottom line and intentions were deeply hidden that one would not be able to guess. In this quick-witted faint charm and tenderness, there was a hidden knife, like a vivid scene between officials of court. Dealing with her was like walking on a wire at the cliff. There were hidden meanings behind the words, and it was difficult to differentiate enemies and friends. Pei Lang turned his head to the side. "What do you think?" Shin Miao smiled. Her smile was pure, as if she was happy that she had done something good. She said, I think it is good. Even if that prefectural magistrate Pei's son know about the older sister's whereabouts, he would personally redeem the older sister. But one fear that Pei young lady would resent what the prefectural magistrate Pei's residents had done that year and will not be willing. On the contrary, would even waste her entire life. Pei Lang did not speak. In this world there are people who are originally jade but after being mixed in the stone heap for too long, will then become a stone. But there are some people whose aspirations are hidden in their bones, that even if others were crushed or smelted, the arrogance in one's bones will not change one bit. One heard that even though that prefectural magistrate Pei committed a crime, in the beginning he had an air of arrogance, and one think that the pair of children that were raised by him would not be inferior in any aspect. You say? Shin Miao looked at Pei Lang. Is that young lady willing to live with the identity of a nobility who is reduced to wind-blown dust, aka prostitution? Or start living with the identity of clean-washed pleasure house lead? After saying so much, Pei Lang sneered. What do you want me to do? After saying so much, Pei Lang sneered. What do you want me to do? Teacher Pei is exceedingly intelligent. I just know that this cannot be hidden from you. The saying of one tiny clue reveals the general trend, and that one will be able to tell the elegance of the song by hearing a string accompaniment, comes as such. Shin Miao was not stingy and complimented Pei Lang before saying, Teacher Pei is filled with talents and have the broader picture in mind. Why not enter officialdom? Shin Miao. Pei Lang's voice suddenly raised up. One did not know which of Shin Miao's words poked his anguish that he became agitated so suddenly, that even Jings and Gu Yu casted sidelong glances. Pei Lang spoke angrily. Do not think of that. Teacher Pei must not be impatient and may even wish to calmly listen to my words first. Shin Miao smiled. Perhaps Teacher Pei was frightened by the story I just told. One felt that in the officialdom field, one would accidentally implicate the entire residence, and it would be filled with treachery and misfortune. After entering officialdom, Teacher Pei will probably have less freedom than now. Pei Lang's facial color gradually restored, as if returning back to the distinguished look of a teacher. But now teacher is alone, with neither a spouse or a family, thus one do not need to worry about getting others implicated. Moreover, in this world, those who stood up high can see far and also do more. In order to protect those who needed protection, being a pure teacher is not enough. Admittedly, it is true that teacher is able to have students all over the skies, but Shen Miao lifted the cup calm and composed, clearly smiling, but in that moment her voice was cold as she said, when trouble really happens, the nobles would all stay away and would not spare any effort. Only when one is stronger, will it be the right way. Shen Miao's voice was bewitching, even more understanding of one's conscience than Bao Xianglu's music. Who taught you these words and what is your purpose? What benefits does he have if I were to enter officialdom? Shin Miao smiled gently. This Pei Lang seemed warm and gentle, and was indeed a teacher who taught without paying any attention to outside matters, but every time when it comes to debating, would always be able to ask the key questions in a moment. In the previous life, Fu Ziyu thought of all sorts of ways to draw Pei Lang over to his side, and afterwards even gave him a position of nation advisor, and it was not accidental but by virtue. Why does Teacher Pei asked about the benefits to others, but not ask about what good does it do to you? Shen Miao did not answer him but cleverly went around and asked, being promoted, gaining wealth and marrying a wife, all this are of advantage to teacher. When doing business, how would someone ask others how much they profit but do not mention how much one gain? How would I gain? Pei Lang said lightly. Teacher will not gain anything, but Liu Ying is the one who will. Shin Miao smiled as she looked at him, and her bright eyes were shining. For a female to leave one's trade meant that there would be a steady support in the second half of one's life. This is considered as saving another's life. Pei Lang stared straight at Shen Miao. If at this time he still did not understand Shen Miao's intention, then he would be a real idiot. What do I need to do after entering officialdom? Pei Lang asked. Shin Miao looked at him in satisfaction. Using the shortest possible time to weigh the pros and the cons before making the most favorable choice, had always been Pei Lang's style, but her mind could not help but remember the time when Fu Ziyi deposed the crown prince. At that time she went down on her knees to beg Pei Lang, but his tone of voice was just like now, rational and emotionless. Now that she had the leverage and this aloof nation advisor could only be fiddled by her, this made a trace of happiness appear in Shen Miao's heart. This happiness appeared quickly on her face and became joy. Actually, it is nothing much. Shen Miao said, teacher is talented and would not actively enter officialdom. 1 year later, naturally there would be an eminent person who will be attracted. One hoped that at that time, teacher would not refuse the eminent person and think of ways to go along with him. But of course, only agree on the surface but is in fact employed by me. You want me to be a planted agent? Pei Lang looked at Shen Miao incredulously. Shen Miao shook her head. How could this be considered as a planted agent? Teacher can be promoted and gain wealth, and I promise that teacher's identity will not be exposed. It is just that at some times, one need to tell me some information. Pei Lang was silent for a moment before looking at Shen Miao. The so-called eminent person is who? Shen Miao gently smiled. Prince Ding, Fu Ziyi. Pei Lang was frightened and involuntarily looked at Shen Miao again. He knew that Shen Miao had previously admired Prince Ding, that it almost became a joke in the capital, and also know that Prince Ding, who had read knowledge and was not showy, disdained Shen Miao as beneath contempt. But one did not know from when onwards, Shen Miao seemed to have changed, and Pei Lang had all along thought that there was someone behind Shen Miao that was guiding her, but now thinking about it, one could not help but guess that it could be that love turned into hate, thus she would scheme against Prince Ding. But if it was only because of being unable to receive the love, how would it be like this? Pei Lang was somewhat confused. The young female in front was pretty in male's clothes and after drinking, was lightly red. She was exactly at a blooming age and was fair and adorable, with a pair of eyes that were as clean as a young cub's, but in her gestures seemed to have some frivolous air. Pei Lang felt somewhat uncomfortable. When those young ladies like Shen Miao's age speak to him, it was like the younger generation speaking to an elder, or the very least like a younger sister speaking to an older brother. But at this moment, it seemed that he was the one in a disadvantaged position. Every single move was led by the other through the nose, unable to resist at all. What exactly do you want to do? Pei Lang had asked this question many times. Until now he was still unsure whether the person doing these things were others or Shen Miao herself. It was like Shen Miao had seen clearly his last cards, but he could not even see Shen Miao's initial purpose. He was absolutely suppressed. I do not want to do anything, just want to make a decision that is beneficial to me and teacher. Shen Miao smiled as she tucked a lock of stray hair behind her ears, making her neck as fair as jade. She said, teacher, will one agree or disagree? I can only answer it here. Pei Lang asked. You have. Shen Miao pointed to the wine flagon. The time of this wine flagon. Once this flagon is finished, teacher will tell me the answer. No need. Pei Lang interrupted her words. If you can do as you promise, I will agree. The room became silent. After a moment, Shen Miao smiled as she got up. She lifted the flagon and filled up the empty cups with wine and picked up the cup in front of her to toast to Pei Lang. Pei Lang hesitated a moment before raising his cup. A strange feeling rose from his heart as he drank with his student in a restaurant. His heart was even feverish, wishing teacher's future prospects be brilliant and infinite. Shen Miao smiled as she downed the cup in one gulp. She drank it so very quickly that a trace of wine flowed out from the corner of her mouth, drawing a line down to her chin and going down to her white clothes. Pei Lang looked away. No matter how pretty a blooming lady was, she was young and inexperienced. Especially people like Shen Miao, who was delicate and attractive, would be even more reserved and composed. It was not that Pei Lang did not like beautiful people, but there was a slight moment in that his mind was slightly chaotic, and felt that it was an extremely wrong thing to do. There was a flash of carefreeness in Shen Miao's eyes. Most likely it was because one had drank some wine, and some of the emotions that had been hiding in one's heart escaped. She remembered Pei Lang's upright behavior and his particular attention to reasoning. In front of Pei Lang, She had interpreted the 6 words "mother of all under the heavens" vividly and thoroughly, but at the end was defeated by Pei Lang's list of merits and drawbacks. That was the nation advisor of the last lifetime that could determine life and death. But now she was holding on to his weak spot. She had to put on the bearing of an empress in front of Pei Lang and could not cry for Wan Yun, who would be in a marriage alliance. Now, she did not have the empress's composure and did not have to follow the strict virtues of a married woman, dressing in a male outfit, visiting places of pleasure, drinking with a teacher. Such frivolous actions and abandonment of all restraints. And what could Pei Lang do? He could not do anything to her. But that carefree feeling was for just a short moment. When Pei Lang agreed to it, she knew that there was no need to continue to be entangled. The tipsy look in one's eyes faded, and little by little she sobered up. She stood up and slightly raised her chin, returning to the stern and prestigious Shen Miao. Once Liu Ying has settled down, one will inform teacher of the embroidery workshop address. Shen Miao nodded her head. The bill has been settled. Teacher can slowly drink the Lu wine as one could not often drink it. One did not know if the last sentence was sarcasm or polite, and Pei Lang's brows slightly wrinkled as he watched Shen Miao leaving with the few people. He took a mouthful of wine, but the originally mellow wine was very harsh in his mouth. As they walked out the door, Jings and Guyu did not dare to speak, as they could tell that Shen Miao's mood was unexpectedly good, and they had heard Pei Lang's words but were puzzled, like being amidst the clouds and mist. They felt that this was no trivial matter, so they dared not speak of it lightly. Once the cold wind blew, the reddish tint on one's face cleared up. Shen Miao closed her eyes, and when she opened them again, there was only coldness in them. Towards Pei Lang, one had after all resented how he stood by the side, and no matter how it was hidden, a shred of it would be revealed. However, the goal was achieved. Return to the residence. She walked towards the horse carriage. At the adjacent room of that room in Guihualu was a secret room, and the few people inside were silent. One had seen a good show just now, and at first glance, one would feel that it was endlessly interesting. But now, since the people were gone and the tea has cooled, it was especially astonishing and frightening when one thought about it. Ji Yushu swallowed his saliva and seemingly wanted to break the heavy atmosphere. This floor is really good, at least it is very convenient to eavesdrop. Not only one can listen, one can also see. It is rather good. Behind the carved pillar, there was a huge glass which was set by the banister. It was said to be glass that come from the west that allows this side to see that side, but that side unable to see here. Together with the bronze pillar filled with holes, one could hear everything clearly when others are speaking. But when Ji Yushu finished this sentence, the other two people in the elegant room did not answer him. Zhao Yan propped his chin with the fan, and this was a common posture he did when thinking. Zai Jingxing supported his head with a fist, and his other hand was playing with the teacup as he was thinking. Unable to withstand such an atmosphere, Ji Yushu opened his mouth to say, "Both of you do not be silent anymore. This is just about the matter of the prefectural magistrate Pei's residence of the Lu state, and Pei Lang is prefectural magistrate Pei's son." Shen Miao spoke of the story easily, and that was because Pei Lang could understand, and because the three of them here were not stupid. They were able to understand it with little thoughts. In the criminal prefectural magistrate Pei's residence of the Lu state, there was a pair of children. The older sister was Liu Ying and the younger brother was the current Pei Lang. During the escape, in order to safeguard Pei Lang, the people that the Pei family arranged abandoned Liu Ying, and afterwards Liu Ying was debased to prostitution. But the Pei family have long arranged an escape route for Pei Lang and turned him to a Ding capital figure. He had been living here since childhood with a merchant family background, and both parents had passed on a few years back. Thus he was currently alone. This kind of highest quality of life experience, no one found it out for so many years. However, Zi Jingxing's lips hooked up. So, how does she know about the background information that Bei Zhaoshen is unable to investigate? When he reached the end, his voice turned cold and there was a murderous air in that pair of beech eyes.